It's welcome back, loyal listeners, to season 2, episode 17 of the Point 3 podcast. It is Wednesday, September 4th, and we are absolutely pumped to have you join us once again. I'm Lou alongside Hero Scroll, and of course, Spider-Brando. We are your favorite trio of hosts, and today we are talking about the latest superhero news and notes from the past week, chatting about the MCU, the new Agatha series, DCU, Lantern news, and so much more. Plus, this is huge. You guys have been asking for it, but we're bringing a little different spice to it. We are going to be debuting our brand new series here on the live stream tonight. It is going to be called the DC Do-Over, where we're going to be doing deep dives back into The Pretender That Was the Flash, directed by Andy Muschietti. So really what we're going to do is talk about what we would have changed today and how that really would have affected the perception of the multiversal movie craze that's going on in cinema today. But let's not waste any more time. It is time to share 3 of the most important things that we mention every single week. Spider-Brando, let's kick us off.
Gotta keep watching. Starting off, I misclicked. Those are new, so bear with us. We got keep watching though, and I have been watching Terminator Zero, which has been absolutely phenomenal on Netflix. I'm on episode 5, I think. I might have watched episode 5 last night, but I have to rewatch it because I may or may not have fallen asleep. But great show. And it's given me what I've been telling everybody. If they liked Edge Runners from like a couple years ago, Cyberpunk Edge Runners on Netflix, and the video game Stray, you'll like Terminator Zero.
Yeah.
And this is coming from someone who is not too into Terminators or hasn't really ever seen a Terminator movie like fully through. And I'm this invested in it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
I have yet to watch it, but
worth
it. I was gonna say, from everything I've heard, it seems like it's another hit, which is good because that's what the Terminator franchise has been needing since T2.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's peaked and then went progressively downhill. I think the last one, which was a couple years ago, like 2019, 2018, it's probably their best attempt so far.
Yeah.
And even that was kind of like subpar. I don't know, but does this have anything to do with like John Connor and those characters, or is this like a completely different story?
It's before Judgment Day. So you don't get like that exact loop, but you still get like the Skynet and the AI aspect of things and kind of what happens, like the Terminators have existed and all that. But it's not like, specific names. I think we were talking about in the Discord of like why, the director and writers and stuff chose to kind of depart from certain things and to tell certain stories and kind of what may be greenlit for a season 2, which is very personal to them. So the cool thing about this show is it's very relatable in a lot of ways. I know everyone's like, oh, AI. Like, dude, we kind of are using that more and more every single day. It's like some of these things actually kind of are a little bit spookier now than before.
I was going to say, though, that's what I think has always been the interesting thing about Terminator, right? Where it's kind of like this very realistic thing, or not realistic, but in theory, something that is imaginable enough that, obviously won't happen, shouldn't happen, but could, and I always remember going to Universal Studios in Orlando and seeing the the live stunt show, and how in the beginning Skynet's like big goal is to just use this technology to be, better in everything. And like one of the funny things is like they have Shaq, who has like a Terminator eye, and he's able to make a free throw, which is absolutely hilarious. But then like another thing that it was like doctors using robot hands for surgeries, which is a real thing now.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. It's definitely something I want to watch.
Anime lovers, dude, the animation is legit though. Like from that alone, like it's a nice watch. It's a very nice watch, and the music, the soundtracks are crispy.
Mhm. Spider-Brando. If you had to compare the animation, what's it comparing to?
Ooh.
Where are we putting it at?
Definitely better than Invincible. I don't know. It's not like the animation's good, but it's not like Demon Slayer type.
It reminds me of like
Creepiness.
Tokyo Ghoul.
It does
In a way.
Tokyo Ghoul and honestly Cyberpunk.
Yeah, a little bit.
The shit reminds me just
The
like
art.
that style.
Yeah.
And the art and the world.
Yeah.
That's a good mix, though. That's a good mix, especially for Terminator.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Definitely pleasantly surprised. But all right, Hero.
Yeah.
Next one up. Keep reading.
Keep reading. Man, this past 2 weeks for Keep Reading have been sensational. Lou, you kind of mentioned it last week, but I'm gonna have to bring it up again. And that's Sentry. The character of Sentry is absolutely amazing. Super compelling character, very well written, very complex. Going from his original 2000s run all the way up to the newest run as well. That was actually this year. That was a 4-issue miniseries. Isn't the Robert Reynolds focused story that I thought it was going to be, but still fits in the mythos very well, I think. But to me, and Lou, I know we were talking about this a little bit. The standout has to be the 05 run, the 8-issue miniseries. Paul Jenkins once again, and man, that story is so good. The way that you learn what is going on in the Sentry's head, what that means for the greater Marvel universe. I won't spoil it too much for people that aren't, that hear this later on and like, oh, I'm going to check this out. But you definitely should check this character out. If you get a chance to read it. And I feel like it's essential to do before Thunderbolts because it changes your perspective a lot on what to expect out of this character. Because I think a lot of people just associate him as the Marvel Superman. And in a way, yes. But to be quite honest, no, he is not that at all. That is not a fair comparison, I think.
Yeah. I will second that wholeheartedly. That's like, somebody, like you judge a book by its cover and then you actually go through the book and you're like, oh damn.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. It's I would say a better comparison is closer to Moon Knight-esque. Not the same, but if you want a better comparison for Sentry, that's where you go.
Yeah.
That's where you look.
Yeah, it would be easy to compare him and say like, Omni-Man or Homelander from like a power set standpoint, but you got to go mental.
Yeah, not even though. Like when you read the story and you see what his powers entail, and it's never fully defined what his limit is, and
it's limitless is a great way to put it.
Yeah, because I think Superman obviously has the limitless power type thing, but it goes in a different direction. Like Superman is the unstoppable force, and Sentry is just you don't know what to expect in any aspect. And I just think that takes you for a wild ride in every single series.
I need to drop this real quick just to timestamp this and get this into the universe. When it comes Thunderbolts time, y'all 0.3 fans, remember this. There's a theory that I have to give Hero credit for. If you didn't read Sentry, you probably can't know about it, but we're giving you the fair spoiler warning ahead of time. There's plenty of runway. Great idea. A great idea for the future of the MCU. So we're going to have to pull that up. We're going to have to pull that back out.
I gotta watch. Sure. I gotta read.
It's a quick read, man. It's like you don't want to stop reading it. Like you don't want to put whatever you're reading on down. You just don't.
Yeah.
So I've been feeling about Symbiote Spider-Man. Or not symbiote Spider. Superior Spider.
Yeah, it's I've never felt this way about a character though, which is interesting. Because Lou, we were talking about this on the Discord as well, where you start feeling off one way for Sentry, and then at the end of one series, you feel a different way. Then you start another one and you feel this way. Then at the end of that one, you feel a completely other way. And then you read the Jeff Lemire 2018 run, and then you're like, okay, I feel this way about him.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, I actually feel this way about him. And I'm sure whenever I get to or go back to like Dark Avengers and some of the other like Mighty Avengers tie-ins, I'm going to feel probably different about Sentry there. So what an interesting character. What an interesting character. It's a character that I think when we all read his stories again, because I will be reading them again, we should do a more like a better deep dive into him.
Yeah. I'm so down for that. So down for that. Sentry, hopefully a standout, and obviously in the pages, but live action wise as well. But before we get into our news, I just wanted to throw out a nerding out. It's going to be short. It's going to be sweet. But I am truthfully nerding out about each and every one of you in the Discord right now. I had a blast with the conversations that we've been talking about, whether it's about your favorite foods, whether it's about Shang-Chi, Iron Fist, what you guys are reading, what you're watching, what you guys are nerding out about. Like, it was just shout out to, I'm going to call you out here, Rome's, just real quick. He literally was just like, I can't stop nerding out right now about certain things. And it's just like, that's what this is all about. That's what this is for. I feel like, fandoms across the board right now are getting like into like it's cuffing season for all of my like fandoms. So we're getting back into it. Like summer's winding down. Let's cuddle up a little bit and grab our books, read our stuff, get on our phones, watch our movies. But it's just been really, really, really fun. Obviously, the trio, that's all we do is dork and nerd out about everything. But getting into it with you guys, getting lost, and next thing you know, an hour goes by. Like, those conversations are so fun. So shout out to all the 0.3 people. Shout out to those that are in Discord. If you haven't joined our Discord yet, what are you waiting for? Check it out. Head on over to our socials. Check out our link tree. You can join from there, or send us a comment or a message here, and we'll reach out to you and kind of get you going from that standpoint. But we have a lot to talk about in a crazy action-packed video here. So we're just going to get through some general news real quick and just kind of highlight some of the cooler call-outs that have happened from the last week. Now, Spider-Brando, you were talking about Terminator Zero, started fresh 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So shout out to all the work that Netflix Animation's doing right now. Joker 2, early tracking for 120 to 150 million at the domestic box office. We also have gotten some notes from Lady Gaga herself referencing, hey, the musical aspects. I wouldn't call this movie a musical, and I think that was like the one thing that most people were talking about for the longest time, but it just gives you insight into the characters. However, we did get news that Joker 2 debuted with a 59% on Rotten Tomatoes. TBD on that one. I don't know. Interesting. You guys have any quick thoughts on that?
I wasn't expecting it to be that well after how well received the first one was.
Yeah.
But it'll be an interesting watch, I guess, if it is a musical, but not a musical. So I'm sure that if the director doesn't even know what to call it, I could see why the critics are judging it that much.
I'm not surprised, because I think not a lot of people who are as invested in these things as we are realized it was going to be part musical, and I'm pretty sure that's what's turning off a lot of people.
Yeah, I
guarantee that. So I just have to wait and see it, but I do think that's what's pushing people away from it.
Agree. I don't think they've ever gotten rid of that stigma that was kind of put on it. And shout out to Agatha a little bit, which we'll touch on in just a moment. But wrapping up some quick DC news, Battinson will not appear in the Penguin series. However, specifically, they said the Batman will not appear, leaving the door open for a Bruce Wayne appearance. Speaking of Batman, we do have the Caped Crusaders season 2 officially in production. Fans have a lot of good feedback for season 1 of that. But getting over to some great MCU news, and shout out to Deadpool and Wolverine, still going strong, 1.2 billion, number 7 on the highest grossing comic book movie list of all time, behind a butt ton of other MCU movies. And then, guys, the first look at the Lasher in Venom: The Last Dance. Is my guy out of, PlayStation 3, or what are we talking about here? Do we love this look, or are we just like, what? This is unfinished? I don't know. I'm not digging it, though.
I'm not digging it.
Weird.
Yeah. Some people were saying this could be Toxin, but they don't. If you know what Toxin looks like, this is not Toxin. This is more than likely Lasher, but it's like, oh, this is an ugly symbiote. Like, not even a good kind of ugly, where like Carnage looked
weird.
Yeah, Carnage looked decent enough, I think. But man, this is what is that? Ew. Please take it off our screen.
I swear that's like a PlayStation 3 cutscene to where you're about to get introduced to like a new hero, and like Blade or somebody shows up behind him and just slices him in half, and you're like, oh, we don't have to deal with that guy? And they're like, no. That was a 30-second clip.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope if they end up using like more of the Life Foundation symbiotes, which like was a rumor for a little bit, that they look better than that. Because if that's what they're gonna look like, oof.
Yeah, oof is right. But speaking of some Spider-Man stuff, our first trailer for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is rumored to be releasing in October. Spider-Man will be all over that, so we'll definitely have updates. But everyone, say your name.
No, I said it's in my name.
Oh, dude, I was like, Spider-Brando? I'll say your name, Spider-Brando.
What's going on?
I don't know. Yeah. But not too much going on this week, minus a few big things. So, Spider-Brando, I'll flip it over to you for our MCU big news. Here we go.
So, we have the WandaVision, Agatha, and Vision trilogy, apparently. Now, all 3 of these Disney Plus projects are considered a series and trilogy with one another, which makes sense. And it's kind of cool to see that this is like the first time they're using Disney Plus projects like that instead of just getting like trilogies and movies. You got a trilogy of a story straight on Disney Plus and from episode to episode, which is pretty cool. We got Agatha coming out in 2 weeks from today, which I think out of all 3 of us here, I'm the one that's actually well excited for it.
Well, hang on now. There's elements we got to talk about that. We got to talk about it.
But yeah, I think it's cool that they're doing that, and I guess they kind of with Echo, well, like what we thought would have been Echo into Daredevil Born Again, or just kind of that street thing, which didn't really pan out too well, or like Secret Invasion into Cat 4 Thunderbolts, going from like project to movie, or series to movie, didn't really pan out too well. So we'll truly see how this goes whenever that Vision series comes out, and when Agatha's done later this year, to see how truly interconnected Agatha is with the rest. So the marketing for Agatha the last couple weeks has been really rampant on showing clips of Wanda, having Teen in there and just referencing Wanda, and just we're in WandaVision 2.0 theory territory, and I love it.
This is a really positive thing that's being said of this is really Wanda's story that's being told across 3 Disney Plus series. The tricky part is, and I feel kind of apprehensive to say I think this is going to work out, because there are some disconnects that we've still seen leading up to this, right? And there's a lack of information and a lot of what seems like not misinformation, but misleading information. Mainly, we saw Wanda die at the end of Multiverse of Madness, right? And with that, it was confirmed in the book. Well, hang on. It was confirmed in the book that she was dead. So it's hard for people to be like, well, if there's no Wanda and Agatha, like, what's the point of Agatha? What's the point of Vision Quest? If that central character is not there, it doesn't make sense. Now, the interesting thing that kind of has come out as we got our last look at Teen, who we all can assume is Billy Kaplan. If you kind of know some details in history on Billy Kaplan, it's not Billy Maximoff. Billy Kaplan could be a teen who is dead. The essence of that character who she created in WandaVision can still be alive. There's a lot of theories going around. That's who that's going to be. That's probably how Wanda is alive. It's not a multiversal version that we get. We're going to go down this path of seeing the gold at the end of the tunnel type of thing on this whole kind of adventure that Agatha is going to go on with her coven of witches. At the end of the day, this is how they bring Wanda back. But she never was really gone. And for me, knowing that, and that her physical body may be gone, but her spirit, her essence, those types of things, knowing how vast the multiverse, the MCU lore is when it comes to like spirits and all that kind of stuff, I'm all for that. And if that's true, that kind of gives me a historical lifeline back to other projects to be like, oh my gosh, I can actually tie something backwards and forwards for the first time in a really, really long time.
Yeah, I like that. You just made me think about something, but I forgot what I was going to say. So, Hero, if you have any thoughts, go ahead.
How do I put this nicely? I'm not excited for this project. Various reasons, but I just think the biggest thing is it just feels like a waste of time. And I think it stems from something like Echo, where Echo promised to be this like big spectacle, and that it was supposed to be like this huge storyline that gapped or bridged the gap between, Echo into Daredevil and that street level MCU, kind of like Spider-Brandos mentioned earlier. But then in the grand scheme of things, it didn't really do anything. It didn't really do that. Agatha kind of seems like it's trying to do the same thing, or at least hinting that it's trying to do the same thing. And I just don't know how to feel about it, because one, as much as Agatha was a good character in WandaVision, I don't think I cared about her enough to be like, I want a whole nother show. And I want her along these random people who we don't know. By the way, Aubrey Plaza's here. Like, that's kind of what it feels like to me, at least, where it's like, well, let's just do this random show, which, fine, whatever. And I think this is where my bigger issue stems from, where it comes into, again, those theories where people are starting to go absolutely nuts, where they're like, oh my God, it's Mephisto. Oh my God, there he is. This clear W sign on a welcome banner is an M. And it's like, no, it's a W. It's not trying to hint at Mephisto.
You mean these M's right here?
Nah, bro. It's W for that's Wanda. That's Wanda's tag all day.
You see what I mean? But it's like, I just feel like, to me, this is a poster. As is this one. Like, they're not bad posters. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just, I feel like people are reading too deep into this. And then I know what's going to happen, where if nothing happens in the show, what are people going to say? Oh my God, the MCU sucks. The MCU's dead. This is why they need to stop wasting time. Sadly, people are going to be like, this is why the women projects are all bad because they're a waste of time, which is not the case. So to me, I don't know. I'm not super excited. I hope this proves me wrong. I will be glad to come out at the end of this and be like, hey, the show was good. It added to the MCU lore wise. You know, it did some really cool stuff that nobody was expecting. I just don't know how much that's going to do.
It does have the rating of Secret Invasion 2.0 kind of all over it, to where, like you said, Echo promised a lot. And Secret Invasion, like, everyone knows the Secret Invasion storyline is huge in the comics. Everyone knows Mephisto has some pretty huge stuff in the comics. So this gives me some similar, like, not to set myself up for too much hype, but I think I've been getting more hyped about this show the last couple weeks just because we're entering spooky season. And this is legit gonna be like right up spooky season alley of them taking
For sure.
a lot of horror elements from like many different cult classic horror movies and just like inspiration and stuff from other horror elements. And Aubrey is just phenomenal at playing these type of dark or like horror type characters. Like if you saw her in Legion from FX, she was amazing in that. So let's hope she goes 2 for 2 in her Marvel character career. But I like you said, Hero, I wasn't one to be begging for an Agatha show, but I'm hoping for the best for it. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, I feel invested into spooky season for once. I don't really, like, growing up, I was never too into horror or like Halloween time and witches and all that stuff. Like, if you name probably like 5 of the most popular Halloween movies of all time, I've probably seen one of them. And this just, I don't know, gets me hyped that like it's kind of entering into the Marvel space.
Okay. Question then, for both you and Lou. Taking out a Mephisto finally confirmed or a Wanda return, what does this show need to do to be considered successful for you? Take those two things out, because those are obviously going to be like, if they happen, instant success, right? Take those out. Let's say they don't happen. What does this show need to do to be like, okay, this was fun, it was worth my time, and I don't feel like, you know, the MCU is dead?
I think my answer to that would fall into the MCU's dead, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't see a world where if you're an MCU fan that this isn't your bread and butter, you'd be like, what's the point in me watching this? Like, I don't feel there's a purpose to it. Me, I like watching spooky season shows, like, you know, the Wednesdays of the world that come on and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'll watch them just because. So for me, this has so many elements, and it just seems like a fun adventure type of thing, to where, you know, you get your cast of characters, they all serve their purpose, they have their moments along the road, you get to the end of it, something happens, great, we move on. It's just an adventure to go on. Would I watch that kind of show weekly? Probably not. I'd probably binge it and stack it. What is making me not want to binge it anymore and to watch it weekly is the thought of Wanda. That for me, I love Wanda in the MCU. So any chance I get to see something that's like, oh, Wanda's back. So it's hard for me to kind of separate those two, because that is kind of the big thing that pulled me back in. But I think it just could be kind of a fun thing. And the people that are a part of it, they're really good actresses too. So I could see them pulling off a fun time throughout, you know, the 35 to 50-minute episodes or whatever we get, you know, of course, you know, the next 2 months.
I do like what Minty has to say. I've heard nothing but great things about Andor, and I'm still slacking on that. But it really needs to do like a good plot for it, obviously, and not just make it just different trope of a horror, the different trope of horror every episode, just like sporadic through the road, which is probably gonna happen. But if they do like, they keep it plot heavy and kind of make like maybe lose some of the coven along the way, just to show the stakes of the road, I think that would be cool.
Real quick to this before we move to the next point. I went back and I watched the trailers and the teasers for WandaVision, and it very much was like loose and fun and 50s and like, oh my gosh, and very bubbly and very like even the Agatha laughing and those types of things throughout the show. But when you actually got into the episodes and me watching them back now, I'm like,
so different.
That's not really the tone and the feel that I got from the actual show, which makes me feel a little bit more hopeful about this from the aspect of if it is a carryover type of thing.
I remember the WandaVision, they really marketed like how like the first 2 episodes were, and like we kind of like expect that for the rest of the show,
which helped the switch up when it happened, though. You know, everyone's like, oh damn, okay, we're getting somewhere. You know what I mean? Like it's different. It's different. It's episode 4.
I think I've been rewatching WandaVision also with the last couple weeks with a friend, and I think we got to episode 5 now. So with me in episode 5, let's just get into them and stop it. But I think that's also been raising my hype level for it a lot too, just because we got the potential to see if that fly on the wall really was Mephisto.
I'm sorry. I will tell you, I cannot buy into the Mephisto thing. That is like, I will believe it when I see it.
So many flashbacks, because I remember me and my roommates in college at the time were just, I was horrendous with them, just sending them all these blasphemous theories, just thinking of theories myself, or just sending them all these like TikTok theories. And one of my favorite times on the internet was just that time period, because everybody was just freaking, it was just hilarious to see so many bad theories, and just kind of, I don't know, not even bad theories, but just everybody coming together to theorize over something.
It was out of control though. Like if you weren't a part of that time, then like
Richards coming in episode 4, baby.
Yeah, then you're like genuinely like you missed out, because it was a different breed of theories where it was like it became a point to where I just felt like it was a competition of like who could have the worst Mephisto theory out there, and there were some really, really bad ones.
Those could have just been the seeds planted for these future projects, man.
No, and you see, and I think that's where my disconnect is, where everybody keeps saying that's what's going to happen, and even, you know, what we're talking about here with this being like a trilogy with it ending or going into Vision, I don't see WandaVision or Agatha playing into a Vision series. The only thing I see them carrying over is the White Vision stuff. But especially with confirmation that Ultron's coming back, there is no reason they should go a more like, you know, spiritual route on Vision when you're trying to deal with robot people, both in your main character and its main villain, where that can tell a much more personal story. And I think I'm more invested in that, where it's telling that kind of story, and something that I think out of WandaVision, we've been wanting more of, right? Because I think deep down, if Agatha just stayed in a spell in Westview forever, would anybody really care that much? But dude, what was the big question? Where's Vision? You know what I mean?
I mean, here's my thing though, is like, I'm looking at this trilogy as kind of there are 2 sides of the coin, right? You have multiple factors in play, because all of these are relationships that tie directly into Wanda. So that's why I kind of said before, like, it's Wanda's story that's being told over multiple pieces. They're just giving you more insight from a third party perspective from that sense, you know? So if like you get Billy in this, you get Agatha, that's one of 2. you get some explanation with Wanda and you fill out, they're going to go through their own story. Agatha's going to get her own development. If they keep her, great. If they don't, great. But like for Vision, now we're missing another child. That's where you get your introduction to Speed. Now you have your tie-ins for the Young Avengers. You have an additional story if they really want to go down that route for what can lead up to Secret Wars. Like you have, I feel, a better foundation for a story that no one cares about being brewed right now. Because where does that road lead? That's my big thing, though. To your point, where does this all lead to? And do I really care that it's going that route? Wanda returns. Vision comes back. We know what he did. The kids are here. The Young Avengers are formed. Doom kills everyone. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like where are we going with it? That's my little hesitation when it comes to that. I agree with you, but I think the prospects of something that we can sink our teeth into. I mean, right now I'll take that, but I also feel like I'm kind of desperate for it.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm letting more out of it. I'm leaning more towards it needs to do something instead of let's just wait and see, because I think we've done the let's wait and see thing already. And it hasn't worked out more than once in the greater scheme of things. And I just think I don't have enough. I don't have more of the let's wait and see.
Now,
right now.
Let me ask you guys both this real quick, because I think these are all really, really great points. And for those of you watching, I think these are fair perspectives that you're seeing across the internet without us being like super toxic. Like, I think you can hear fans from a Disney Plus perspective. They've been hurt recently. It's like, man, I invested a lot of time for what? And my big question is, okay, to Hero, to your point, get Wanda out of the way, get Mephisto out of the way. What does this do? Is it enough if this expands the mystical side of the MCU in an even greater fashion for setup for future characters to kind of come down the pipeline, like a Midnight Suns, like a Ghost Rider, I'm just throwing, spitballing names, but like this is definitely a side of the MCU we still did know very little about. Not to steal from Doctor Strange's multiverse, but kind of.
It would have to expand in a more obvious way. And I know it might sound kind of hypocritical, but you'd kind of, if you want it to succeed in that manner, you kind of have to have a cameo somewhere of somebody. Not even like the it doesn't have to be necessarily Mephisto or Wanda, but you'd need an Elsa Bloodstone. You need a Werewolf by Night, Moon Knight. You need Ted. You need somebody to come out and connect it to a wider thing. It's not enough if you're just like, oh, well, there's the devil out there and he can make deals with people and his name's Mephisto. And it's going to be like, yeah, we knew that. Thanks. Yeah. And it has, Minty, the MCU has let down Magic a lot. The science side is really well done. And I think that's because it's easier to digest and put out in a more casual friendly. But beyond Doctor Strange, who's really done that? You know what I mean? Thor's kind of done it, but not really. Loki kind of did it, but also not really, because it did more with time more than anything. So again, I don't know. I don't think it would be enough unless you have like a kind of out there cameo.
Yeah. And to that point, Spider-Brando, if they did expand it and it was really Aubrey Plaza that was a character we can all kind of point our finger to and say, you kind of were that extension point, like you were the catalyst to really just blow up the entire MCU magical realm, to just be like, you were the one who name dropped, you were the one who talked about the character, you were the one that's like, I know Strange, I know Mephisto, or I know Ghost Rider, I know someone where fans are going to be like, oh my gosh, did she really just name drop that character? For you, as someone who really is like, the fact that she's just in the show is enough. But for you, would that be enough to kind of buy into the future prospects of magic in the MCU and an expanded MCU mystical side of things?
I'm gonna say yes. I'm always down for more MCU magic. And I think that it's definitely an area that they need to go into more. Even knowing like we got the 3 Doctor Strange movies and he's been in like 6 different projects, but there's still so much more they could do with his magic and stuff. And like even with Wanda, Agatha here, like we're just talking about, could do so much more.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Aubrey, she's supposed to be some like original character, I think.
Yeah, she's not
Right?
from the Rio Vidal.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. I hope they don't. I just hope they don't Gaia her. And
Ah!
this
Oh
is
shoot, Curse of the Spider-Brando. No.
yeah. I was gonna say when I mentioned the Secret Invasion similarities earlier, that was my big like. I forgot to bring it up, but like
Fair point.
I had gone into that show and Amelia Clark, and it's like, oh, Marvel's ain't no way Marvel gets a actress like her just to do that, and they did that. So let's hope for the best for Aubrey.
So, you know what would be interesting? And I think another thing that might make it work, and it does still kind of tie into that big cameo thing. If you have Doctor Strange show up, they won't, right? But if you had Strange show up and at least him either get involved or do something in it, because I think it would be really cool to establish him as the go-to of that side of the Marvel universe, where when you're reading comics, a lot of the times the minute something happens that they don't know what to do, they go to Doctor Strange.
Shout out Sentry.
I was literally about to say, happens in Sentry, happens in, Thor, happens
No
in
Way
every
Home.
No Way Home, comics, it happens everywhere, And I think it'd be cool if they start
I
setting
think
that
Blade
up.
too. I just read a Blade comic where he's
Yeah.
like, I know who would know this. And he goes to him, he's like, what'd you do?
Yeah, he's like, what happened? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then he's just like, hey, this is that, I think that would be neat if they start establishing that and he kind of becomes your through line for that side of the MCU, which I think ideally he should have been, but you start really setting that up now.
I just want to add one thing to that, because although I'd love to see Strange and all the other stuff, let's just assume it doesn't happen in classic MCU fashion. Like they underdeliver. The one thing that I think that they could do to make the side of, the mystical side of the MCU feel better is really establish the power scale and elevate it, because we know how strong Wanda is and we know how strong Strange is. And like you said, Thor's magic, Loki's magic, I still kind of put them outside of what this could be for right now. And even Wong, I think Wong is a really good one too. But if the 6 of the Coven, well, minus one of them, Mrs. Hart, those that are mystical that have their specialties, if they can kind of establish a baseline for our kind of MCU knowledge of what is magic, how strong can you really be, what is your ceiling, and then, oh my gosh, you guys all reached the level, but Scarlet Witch is still worlds, leaps and bounds better than you. I think that could do a good job for people moving forward, because like Minty was saying, the magic and the science piece of it, Ironheart, Hood, Doom, like we're going to get some more of that magic and technology combinations moving forward with characters that we're going to have no foundation for. But I think this could really help set that floor for everyone. I think that would go a long way, in the future, if we get it here. If we don't get it here, I think that'll be a huge knock in the end. I don't know what the budget is for this show. Maybe it's 200 some odd mil.
High, probably.
But I think that could be a real sleeper status of this, of like, oh shoot, they're doing some really cool things to get people invested.
Yeah. Let's hope. Let's hope at the end of it we're having a different conversation.
Yeah. No, that was good. That was good. Agatha, you got a lot more time than we thought.
Potential watch parties in Discord as well, depending on
Ooh.
how scheduling is.
Oh,
Always comes down to scheduling,
Join.
unfortunately.
I was gonna say join the Discord and you'll find out.
Yeah.
the more
won't know
people are
until
in
you're
there, yeah, the more people that join, the more obligated Spider-Brando has to be. So
Hold me accountable.
hold them accountable. Hold them accountable.
He absolutely has to. Moving on into the next bit of news, going back into the DCU, and this is where we will be staying for the rest of the live stream. So, Hunter, if you're still in here, this is what we're talking about next. This one's for you. The big rumor that came out this week for the Lantern show, we did get a kind of big update from our non-best friend, Daniel RPK, talking about Superman, hearing good stuff about that. But the big casting rumor of Hal Jordan in the DCU. And the big name that came out of it was Josh Brolin. Yes, your Thanos, your Cable as Hal Jordan. So if you guys remember the last time that we talked about the Lantern series, it was rumored that the casting was for an older Hal Jordan and a younger John Stewart. And that seems to be the case because according to Daniel RPK, I've heard they're eyeing, quote, I've heard they're eyeing Josh Brolin because their version for Hal Jordan is to have him as an older, gruff, no-nonsense mentor to a younger and reckless John Stewart. And as we know, Brolin excels at playing the grumpy type. The series is set to start filming next year with a story that follows Hal and John as they investigate a twisted and bizarre murder mystery on Earth, uncovering a conspiracy that will impact the entire DC universe, end quote. In regards to the story, that's something we've been hearing since kind of the beginning, right? That it would be a team up investigating a murder plot. So, guys, how do you feel about this casting rumor? Keep in mind that we did ask this question over on Discord, and some people did have some opinions, specifically Funko Air for older Hal thinks it's a good casting. Dylan, loyal listener of Point 3 Podcast, says, wouldn't be my first choice. He said he would have gone with someone who isn't known as Thanos, Cable, and Jonah Hex. Dylan, I don't think he's known as Jonah Hex because I think everybody forgot about Jonah Hex.
Dylan has deep knowledge, people. He has knowledge. So
yeah. The other bit of news, though, to kind of put into this while you guys think about that is that if Josh Brolin declines the role, that Matthew McConaughey and Ewan McGregor are being considered for Hal Jordan, and that's via The Insider. So, Lou, I'll kind of throw this over to you. Josh Brolin, good or bad?
I think it's good. Again, it's kind of timely just because we've all kind of had to battle our own internal demons of can we get over the fact of seeing a face on screen that we've associated with another character that has been very beloved. And in this case, although it's not his face, Josh Brolin as a voice actor for Thanos is synonymous with him. If you were on the Deadpool hype train, you probably rewatched and saw, Cable and Deadpool 2. For me, doesn't matter. The thing that I love about this, and I always tie this back to Dune in a lot of ways, of the way he's always played a good mentor type character. He's rough, he's gruff, he's hardened. He's a fantastic, absolutely fantastic actor. Sounds great. Like voice of just choice. If I could switch my voice, I'd totally take his. But I like this casting for a Hal Jordan that I think most people were expecting in the way that you described John Stewart to be. We've all been, for me personally, that kind of Glenn Powell, Top Gun, the hot shot, fighter jet kind of guy who just comes in and he does some crazy things with his ring. And it's like, oh my gosh, I accept this responsibility now. I should be Lantern, blah, 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 blah. Not happening. I think we're all coming to terms with and an understanding The DCU that we're going to see is going to be brand new, but this is going to be a very seasoned DCU. And with that, you need characters that can portray that. And I think Josh Brolin can do that in spades very quickly. Establish a character, add credibility, play off of every single person that's around him, but someone that you want to see return, who you want to see have his moments. Again, shout out to Dune. I think that would kind of be what I would take and just plop over here. But guys, name value for the DCU on Max? Like, what are we talking about? Like, yes, please.
Like huge name from them, especially a former Marvel, two-time Marvel actor. I'm hyped. I would be okay with it. A lot of people seem upset that they're going in older Hal Jordan, but in my opinion, like we've gotten enough young Hal Jordan storylines in animation and just there, but why not have the best of both worlds and have an older one character that you know and love, and then a younger one that everybody also loves? It's like best of both worlds for me. And pairing whoever plays Jonathan Stewart with an actor like Hal Jordan, it's gonna cook. Especially if they do someone like a big name like Jon Stewart, or a big name for Jon Stewart too.
Mm-hmm.
That would be chef's kiss. I would like to add one little tidbit. I love how heavy the DCU is going in on the Lanterns and just like the feel of it. I know we talked about it when they first had like the writer team came out and just like prior rumors into it, but man, the fact that they want to like that they're going into this deep into the casting and everything gets me excited. We're gonna have 3 Lanterns within the first couple projects of the DCU between Guy, Jonathan, and Hal. And I gotta get my Lantern Corps game back up.
Yeah. I really like this casting rumor for multiple reasons, right? It adds big name status into the DCU, like you guys already said, thus making a lot of people invest in it immediately. Yes, that is also very true, Minty. We've only got one, which really sucks, but we're getting that remediated. Yeah, we're getting that remediated very soon. But I like that for that reason. But I know that for some people, they hear what RPK said about him playing an older, gruff, like no nonsense. But I think it works because having someone like Josh Brolin, and if you look at the other alternatives with McConaughey and McGregor, these are actors that you can look at. Hold on, though. Because these are, and especially with like Obi-Wan, if you take a look at Obi-Wan, these are actors who've done the hotshot role and also the older mentor role very well. And I think what you can do with an older Hal is you can have someone who is in a way still a hotshot, very, kind of reckless in his own ways, but still plays a mentor and is like no nonsense because he knows what he's doing already.
Yeah.
And then what you do is you have Jon Stewart come out, who is a rookie, and really kind of remind him that sometimes you need to loosen up. They can play off of each other very well. And you can still have Hal Jordan be the kind of like dry, jokey older guy. Because, I mean, let's be honest, sometimes when you get older, that is what happens. You maintain your personality, but you get angry at, smaller things. And life has seasoned you. That is just what happens. But then someone comes and reminds you that, no, you can still have fun. And I think that's what they can do with Jon Stewart. But then also, whoever you have play next to Josh Brolin gets elevated as well. Because you can have a complete no-name actor come in and play Jon Stewart, and they already feel like at a level of Josh Brolin. Especially if their chemistry feels great on screen. You've set Jon Stewart as a character right off the bat, and then you've set that actor up very well to be able to carry the franchise forward.
Yeah.
So I think it's I think it's a smart play. I know people are not fully on it and they would have liked someone newer or, lesser known, but I think this is your best play because at the end of it also a lot of people know Hal Jordan as a Green Lantern. Not a lot of people know John Stewart.
Yeah, I think that's the other kind of like unsung aspect of this is a lot of people that are attracted to the lanterns, a lot of them come from having, pretty well established knowledge of who Hal Jordan is. And that's always kind of been their lantern. I mean, Hero, you know this more than I know. Spider-Brand, we've been getting on it of like, you have your Kyle Rayner, like you have other lanterns that you can do this, but this really gives you, I think, the best type of foundation for one of the most popular lanterns that we could get at this point. But then at the same time too, I know people are like, we want someone new. Having a seasoned Green Lantern, obviously you have Guy Gardner, but you have a fresh Superman, and we don't know who's going to be Batman, and we don't have a Wonder Woman yet. Like, there's still opportunities in the DCU to give that kind of young up and coming actor or actress their moment to play a character that's probably, all three of those are bigger than Green Lantern for the most part. There's tons of lore. I just think that there's a lot of opportunity. It would be different if we got like an old Superman, to be honest with you. I'd be like, you pretty much killed like your character before you really got him off the ground. But for them, there's a different way you can season Superman. I just think this is like they're cooking on the grill, bro. They're cooking like 50 different things at one time on one fire, and they're just like, everything's gonna taste delicious. Doesn't matter. Like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Shout.
And the more you think about it, it just elevates every other relationship that Hal Jordan has had because now I know a lot of people are kind of thinking they go the parallax route. And I think I kind of consider myself there too, where they might go that way, but part of me also feels like they might not. And what they could do is just they use this as a Sinestro story. And what you do is now, again, you've elevated another character because you had this big name actor who portrays the history and season and the loss of fellow Lantern, brethren. And you give that to Sinestro. And now Sinestro, if and when he comes out, feels like a big deal. You don't have to do the whole, he was once the best Green Lantern and now he's evil. You don't have to do that again. You can just establish he is the Yellow Lantern. He is the Sinestro core. And he is the worst thing that's out there.
Yeah. I'm interested for those stories.
Not hot take, but you said Sinestro. I don't know why. I see Matthew McConaughey playing a killer Sinestro.
All right. Hal Jordan, baby. It's good to see you. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
I would give it a chance. Because I think it might be a fresh spin and take on a character that like not a lot of people know on screen, but people have like created from the pages that it's just kind of like a slight tweak. But I think the way that like a lot of people think about Sinestro is kind of how people feel about Josh Brolin as Hal Jordan. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic from that perspective.
Yeah. I mean, again, this way, when you have this older Lantern core, you don't have to formally introduce all the other Lanterns either. You don't have to introduce Kilowog. He's just there now. You don't have to introduce all the other ones. In reality, the only ones you might have to introduce are Kyle, But again, that also opens up the opportunity to bring a character who hasn't really been seen since like the 90s, really, in a popular light like that. So I like it.
And the
I'm
argument
happy.
that people keep on making of it being like upset that he's older or like wanting to have fresh young people in the DCU. They're literally doing that with Jonathan Stewart, his partner, and making him young. Like, why can't I don't understand that argument.
Personal preference. I mean, I think some people may want. For me, I see a lot of it coming from like if you introduce a character who's older, we don't know how long we're going to have them for, and I think people want to see Hal Jordan's Green Lantern for a while. I just think there's a lot of opportunity from a flashback perspective and stuff too. Like,
Yeah, especially with what RPK was just saying about the DCU. It's basically heroes have been around for ages and will feature various projects that are across different timelines / just different time periods. It opens up so many avenues for him to come back of like the foundation of the Lantern Corps. Like he could get his OG origin movie in the future as well. And then that could be like Green Lantern 1, and then Green Lantern 2 is like a spin-off of Jordan or Jonathan and Hal's after the Lantern series. Like the possibilities are endless for a brand new universe like that.
it feels more akin to Star Wars than not right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 And good point. And I mean, also, this lets you, like you said, tell that story later on with a different actor. And again, you've kind of put them in a nice spot of like, oh, that's Josh Brolin's character. You know, that's the Hal Jordan. Oh, I want to see what he went through before, you know, and you can have your whole, you know, depending how they go route of either show or movie, you know, your 2-3 season show or your 2-3 movie of OG Hal and how he got to where he is. And, you know, you can see all that stuff. And especially if they do the whole, he already went through the parallax stuff. You get to see that, you know, and that way, if they play off of it in here where he already went through that, and that's kind of what makes him that, you know, more gruff and tough and, you know, rough Hal, you'd understand that a little more. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Lanterns. Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you think we get Kyle Rayner in it?
No.
Not yet.
That's a season 3 thing if they do like multiple seasons. And if it goes movie, that's a movie 2 thing.
Yeah. Valid. I still gotta read that compendium thing that I got.
Minty, Guy is in Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Not Lanterns. Well, at least not confirmed. He very well could show up as a surprise, but
dude, my theory is I think my theory is that he dies in Superman, and that's the reason why the Lanterns have to come to Earth to investigate that mysterious death.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. It'd be a decent catalyst.
It'll show some, like it'll show a great catalyst in Superman. Show like this consequences type thing.
Oh, John gets his ring.
Ooh, that could be the little post-credit scene or cameo for it to kind of segue into Lanterns.
Okay.
James Gunn is cooking, man.
I'm sorry. I think the DC is going to blow people away.
Where did I freaking send this? Dude, I sent a tweet to someone the other day about the last 3 Snyder movies versus the last 3 Gunn movies, and it was hilarious. Just looking at the critic scores side by side, or just all the audience scores side by side.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't say it too loud on the internet.
Yeah, don't worry. You're gonna bring over the Snyder loyalists, and I don't think we're ready for that conversation.
Now. Let them freaking comment.
No. We're not ready for that. Not yet. You know what we are ready for? To throw some mud on, heavy mud, The Flash. Right. So Lou, take us into our next deep dive.
Yeah. The Flash. We're about to dive into that dumpster fire. No, The Flash. It was a film that was originally set to reset the DCU. to really ignite a new era for the DC films, but it really didn't go as planned. Tons of major fan backlash. There were a lot of mixed reviews, disappointing box office numbers, and it was obvious that The Flash, struggled to live up to its massive expectations and the expectations we put on it, and we kind of lowballed it. But we're going to talk about really what went wrong, from storyline choices to the handling of Ezra Miller's controversies and how it impacts James Gunn's vision for the future of the DCU and kind of the multiversal aspect of things. So first question I have, and I'm gonna throw this over to you, Spider-Brando, is what was your biggest point of criticism and your suggestion for how the movie could have been better from that aspect?
I was rewatching it last night, and the CGI is just atrocious. I like, especially watching it on a monitor, on just like regular old gaming monitor. It doesn't get the best colors, doesn't get the best frame rates. I mean, frame rates, yes. Doesn't get the best like theater type experience to portray a movie. And oh my god, you could really see how bad it is on one of these things. It's freaking like, I hated it. And I was just so uninterested when all the CGI heavy scenes came on. Like, even more so than the theater. But I was kind of able to look past it in the theaters because I saw it in IMAX and like it kind of elevated it. But nah, dude, that was just so bad. Like when he was going full speed running in the past, running. Why can't I talk? Running back in time for the
give us
first
a run.
time. All his slow mo shit. Oh my god. That's so bad. I remember when that movie first came out, Hero's biggest criticism of it was the slow motion. And that was pissing me off last night, was all the slow motion.
Yeah.
And, I mean, yeah. Because, the character that's known for going fast for over half the movies going slow.
I understand. So here's the thing, too, actually. After watching Sonic, and they do a lot of slow-mo with Sonic as well, and when he goes super fast, but it's just done so much better in there, and they overemphasize in the Flash. Like what Sonic does is great. It has like a balance of slow-mo for like a little like tidbit, and then boom, it's like full speed again. Flash is just full slow-mo. And when he loses powers, he tries to run around that room and like he's like literally running in like his real time, but like it just looks so it's just so bad. I think they need to readdress and fix how they portray speed and their visual effects department.
Oh my gosh, we could spend like 5 days on this. I mean, I agree with that, but the biggest thing that still stuck out to me is the reboot aspect was such a gigantic miss, and them leaning on whatever they thought was really good from a nostalgia standpoint with Keaton's Batman. Just, it was such an opportunity to focus on resetting the universe. The whole world knows that it's done. Like, your DCU's over. And instead of giving us this big kind of send-off moment, or like, your relay in the Olympics, like, they didn't drop the baton. They threw it at the back of the person in front of them's head. And they're just like, oops. And then we were all like, now what? And they're just like, you guys are out. And we're just like, oh, okay. And like the rest of the race is still going on. Like the rest of the superhero world is still moving. And the DCEU is just like, oh, we're done. Sorry, guys. Like, we just kind of gave up.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. There's some concepts in this movie that are still going strong and will go strong thanks to the MCU, mainly the multiverse. And I think they had a really cool chance to pull in some cool characters. It just felt so lazy to me after watching it back and listening to our podcast that we had. Like, it was a true definition of a letdown.
Yeah.
Just look at what Deadpool and Wolverine did and what the Flash did. And knowing that Sean Levy was originally supposed to direct the Flash, I don't think he could have saved that movie, and I'm happy he did not direct it. Because of what we got from Deadpool and Wolverine was just that much better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think DC would have let him do and pull in, like, older DC properties, like, truthfully like that, and not no AI or deepfake type crap that they did. Every Deadpool and Wolverine cameo had, like, a purpose in its story. I definitely don't think he would have been able to do that with DC. And that I think they wanted to really tank this movie just to get people to fully get out of the DCEU.
It's a shame too, because I think this would have been a really good opportunity, knowing, and maybe they might not have had the plan, but to have certain DCEU characters that are going to move over into the DCU. I wish they would have had like a Blue Beetle show up if they carried over Shazam or Black Adam or someone else, like not them specifically, but it would have been really nice to see them show up and interact from a hero perspective to then kind of be elevated and then boosted into the next. Even if it was a select one or two, it just would have given them kind of that, not to take a wrestling term, but like, you know, that passing of the torch that you get some of your OGs to do for some of the young characters, you know, really give them that push and that kind of sign off to be like, okay, you are the future type of thing. Like, and speak to the fans from that perspective. I just think it would have been nice.
Yeah. In the sense of where, like, for example, Deadpool and Wolverine did feel like a bigger celebration of what it was trying to do with its characters and like the Fox characters in the Foxverse. And I think everybody would be okay, as sucky as it is, right? If it were to happen, if we never see Elektra, if we never see Blade again, or Wesley Snipes' Blade.
Well,
I know people want it, but what I mean is
we may never see Blade again ever.
Very true. But I think people would be okay with that because they at least got some sort of a send off and a celebration of what they were. And I think, to your point, Lou, that's what this should have been for the DCEU. It should have been like a big celebration. Henry Cavill should have cameoed in here. Gal Gadot should have cameoed. Yeah. Jason Momoa should have been handled up a million times better. Minty, I agree.
I know. I was I was waiting for that one.
Yeah, but it just felt like they took everything and they were just like, no, we don't like that. So here's this completely other multiverse that you've never seen before.
Here's everyone but Henry Cavill Superman.
Here's everything but Henry Cavill. And then here's, unfortunately, actors who've passed away in their likeness. A random Nicolas Cage fighting a weird spider thingy.
Spider-Brando.
Yeah, Spider-Brando, were you in the movie?
The hand.
Yeah, that's a multiversal one.
Yeah.
Spider-Brando one shot.
I was gonna say he came after you after we were talking about the movie. He heard it through the multiverse. But it was just like, it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like a celebration. And then when you got the big cameo of Henry Cavill, here he is in this ugly CGI bowl. And it's like, ew, never show me that ever again.
I love me some Chrono Bowl.
No, you don't. No one does. No one does, with that horrible backwards running and that horrible, that movie's so. And I think, too, they make Barry Allen one of the most unlikable characters in just history. Like any movie ever. They make him unlikable when he's normal, like Earth, whatever, Flash. And then they make him even more unbearable when he goes back and he meets his younger self.
So great.
And then you have two annoying versions of Barry Allen.
But
and it's like, I'd be okay if they killed this character off and I never saw him again.
Oh, if you do nothing else in this movie, I just think it was a softball toss. You kill this Flash with Reverse Flash. He's dead. Reverse Flash is the number one thing in this entire movie that I will forever say is the top of my list to change. How do you not? How do you not investigate? I'm still baffled by this of being like, oh, these case files I can't get to it, and they're just like, I don't care who killed my mom. Oh,
That's my, and I think that's the big thing that even if you listen to our review coming out of it, the other big thing not only is Barry Allen annoying, he's incompetent. Like he does not know how to do anything right. And he's supposed to be literally one of the smartest characters in the entire DC universe. Yet he doesn't ever stop to ask, hey, who actually killed my mother and why? Why don't I try to stop that? No, you know what killed her? Going to the grocery store.
Putting tomatoes in the wrong fucking
she had to get some tomatoes.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then you know what? I could forgive it where it's like, okay, maybe he did think it was just like a random act of violence, right? But the second that he goes back and changes it for his dad and his mom is still dead, would he still not have like at least kind of wanted to know like, okay, I need to find out who actually killed my mom so I can free my dad?
Yeah. No, let's forget about freeing my dad that way. I'm just going to just boop.
It's so stupid. It's so dumb because I feel like that would be a better explanation of his obsession with it, right? Where not only did you lose both your parents, but you want to know why this happened. And the why goes to the who. And that's what he's exploring through this movie. And it's such a missed opportunity. Such a missed opportunity.
Because I get more of a residual feeling of like, don't go back and change the past from Batfleck telling him, being like, don't meddle where you don't need to. You know what I mean? Like, we're going through all the grief, but you know what I mean? Like, he's just like,
he goes through all that I'm sorry to cut off. But
no, go ahead.
He goes through all that spaghetti and fucking, he goes through all that BS throughout the entire movie, learns, oh, I shouldn't mess with the past. Boom. First thing he does when he gets out,
mess with the past
again. Like, come on, man.
And it's just such
Peter
a like
Parker would have, after No Way Home, he learned his lesson not to and took the sacrifice of made everyone forget him. Very easily could have done the same thing. It would have been like, all right, is what it is. Move on. Dude ain't moving forward.
And that incompetence continues into the other characters, especially Batman.
Oh my gosh.
Where Michael Keaton's Batman is cool for all that one fight scene in that like jail or whatever. Oh, when they're trying to free Supergirl.
That, like silo jail.
Yeah, that's the only time where I saw Michael Keaton's Batman in this movie and thought, wow, that was awesome. And then the part where he jumped out of the Batwing, that was also pretty cool. Other than that, I was like, please take this character out of my screen. And then the world's smartest tactician says, you see that alien?
You want to get nuts?
Yeah. You see that alien ship? I'm going to fly into it. And then he immediately dies.
No, my guns and missiles didn't do it, so I'm just going to kamikaze myself. That'll save the universe.
Star Wars.
Like, it is the dumbest thing. He is so bad. And then for some reason, Supergirl can't beat Zod ever, I guess, because Supergirl sucks in this universe, apparently. It's so bad. It's so bad.
It felt like that whole time of like whoever wrote and directed the scenes for the breakout and then the end were two completely different people, because there's no way in my mind that person's like, yeah, I'm gonna have some badass moments and choreography and stuff, and then they're at the end, they're like, yeah, they peaked already, and forget about the climax and the end fight scene. Like we're done.
Yeah, the babies. That was the microwave baby. That was enough. Which
I thought that was a great solid name though. The Shaquille O'Neal, like that is legit.
I love that name.
Minty Crispy, you guys are crushing it in the chat right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, these are some good. some fire names,
Oh,
but
big fan, big fan.
okay, let's put on our thinking caps for a second, right? Let's say we had to use the same elements that we got in the movie that we did, right? So let's say you get a second Barry Allen, you get Michael Keaton's Batman, you get Supergirl, and you get Zod, and you have to kind of do similar things, right? Take out Reverse Flash, no Reverse Flash. What would you have changed, or what would you have rearranged in the movie to make it better with the same elements?
They need to do more of showing that Dark Flash that they did instead of just those like 2 random pop-ups that he had.
The peak that he does in the Chrono Ball where he's like, hello, hey, I'm in here.
I think an emphasis on like who that was, or like the mystery behind who that was throughout the movie, and maybe like a lot more of him like popping into harass Barry throughout the movie would have made like a better kind of boss fight or final realization type thing. I don't know. It's really hard to make this movie better. Like,
I don't know, man. I feel like you kind of like go the video game route with this and start the movie off with, you know, when Barry shows up to Batfleck and he's like, blah, 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 the past, Martha, crap, all that kind of stuff. And literally right after that, Dark Flash knocks him off the timeline. And you have a huge boss fight. And you basically go from like a souped up final boss Barry that's like, it's wild. See, like below 90% of your budget in this beginning part, I'm just saying. And you go the depowered route.
hit on babies.
Yeah, like knock him off, have Dark Flash do something that like depowers him, but leaves him breadcrumbs that he kind of like re-engages and has to cross timelines, and just like he picks him up and just launches him in different places, but not like they did in the movie where he like shows up at a T-Rex and then like flies against the wall, like something like that. Have Dark Flash take him through the history of like the DCU and pay homage to everything that kind of came before, and then he pops right back into that end fight scene and you're at like peak Barry again and that kind of stuff. Like the movie needs to feel like it, like Jason Statham, like where I need like electricity, like stay alive that whole time. I forget the name of the movie, but like it should be really high octane 24/7 in my opinion. But I would rather have people complain it's too jumpy from that perspective. And it's just a wild ride.
I like that. Yeah, I like both your points a lot, and I think that was the big misfire where it's like the villain feels like it's more Zod more than anything, and that's weird. It's weird, right? And to Minty's point, they fight in a weird setting. They're just like out here in this random desert, and nothing happens right out of it other than Batman and Supergirl dying 1,000,003 times.
That's like Goku Vegeta of like, yo, we're not going to fight in the city. If we want to go all out, let's move over here type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, no, you need to go like Metropolis is doomed type of thing. Like it's over.
But what I think they really should have done, and I've been thinking about this when we decided this is what we were going to do for today's live stream, I think they really should have taken this story from the other Barry's perspective and not obviously make him not as annoying. But make this a Barry who doesn't have his power yet, who's trying to figure out life. And what you do is you have the other Barry, like the Barry we know, show up randomly one day. And he's like, he's coming for you. And then Dark Flash comes out. And that Barry is trying to save the Barry whose perspective we're seeing. That's when you get your big boss battle. And then you have Dark Flash siphon Flash's powers. He takes it. The older Barry comes up to younger Barry and he's like, look, he's going around the multiverse trying to take the other Flash's powers to access the Speed Force. That's all you need to know. He's just trying to access the Speed Force. We need to stop him. So we need to basically recreate your accident that's going to happen to you later. So that way you can get the powers, and you basically make this an origin story for that Barry. That way you can still get an origin story in a way. Because you kind of have to do that in a way. And then at the end of it, you just reveal that all of this was actually OG Barry's fault. Because he went into the timeline messing with it, trying to save his mother. That's like that's your big twist. This is OG Barry's fault. That Flash was a Barry from another timeline that realized he could do the same thing and didn't stop. And realized, okay, if I can't save her, then I can, make myself stronger eternally. I just think you make yourself more interesting that way. Because if you're just trying to go down the route of, the worst of yourself, that's how you tell it.
Yeah. Oh. I think those are simple tweaks that probably would have been more enjoyable. Man, every time I think about something in this movie, I'm like, why? Why did they do that? One quick question, Spider-Brand, I'll throw this over to you. If you could have replaced George Clooney's cameo at the end, which, gosh, that was way blown out of proportion and overhyped, like, ugh. But if you could have replaced his cameo and even the Jason Momoa crap, who would you have put in? And here I'll ask next.
It's tough.
Just keeping it as it is, like see someone else.
I would have liked to see. I don't know. I guess realistically, just Christian Bale's Batman instead would have been nice, like nod, because then that'll even open up like, oh, maybe it's this post Dark Knight Rises.
Okay.
And in place of Aquaman's Black Adam. That's it. No further context.
I
Black
just
Adam.
enjoy it.
Hierarchy of the DC universe.
Yeah.
What better way to really show the hierarchy change than put him in a movie that's garbage and throwing out the DCEU?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Spider-Brando. I think Christian Bale Batman would have been your best. Like, I think that would have really generated a lot of hype to at least.
People would be going to see the movie just for the post-credit scene.
Yeah,
if they heard Bale.
It didn't even have. It could have been like in a fight, like mid-fight, and they're at that restaurant where Alfred is at the end of Dark Knight Rises, and he's like about to look back, and then you just see the flashes like going around, and Christian Bale's like to Alfred, and he's like, I think that would have been great, or a Henry Cavill with a mustache would have been fun. Little gag. Henry Cavill Superman with a mustache.
I like that, baby. Play on some CGI.
Yeah, I think that would have been. And I mean, if you're gonna take a page out of like Deadpool and Wolverine's book, or if vice versa, if you go Superman, then I think you should have actually dedicated yourself to the Nick Cage thing and like committed yourself.
Yeah, like
go all the way in on that.
Said he didn't even know he was in it.
No one knew who they were in this movie, apparently.
Yeah. It's wild. What a wild time.
Yeah,
re-listening our review episode was so fun. I can't lie.
Yeah, we were hype. I remember we were hype. We just came off of Flashpoint and thinking about what could have been. But this movie is a very good example of like not only disrespecting your source material fully, but also disrespecting the legacy of things that came before you. Where again, Deadpool and Wolverine was a celebration of all of that, and the Flash felt like he was trying to spit on it and bury it.
Barry.
Yeah, I feel like spit on it a little bit. Where
Barry.
Yeah, that was not intentional.
That was good though. That was good. Shout out Grant Gustin by a grave.
Yeah, but I just feel like yeah, honestly, I just feel like that's what it was, and it really does suck that the more than likely the only Flash movie we will have for 10 years, 10 years, is genuinely one of the worst superhero films ever. And I know this sits interestingly at like a 70% Rotten Tomatoes audience score, which is wild. So someone out there enjoyed it, but I think if you're someone who really enjoys, there you go. There you go. Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like, honestly.
I knew that thing was existing out there.
I love the internet sometimes.
The internet is great. Yeah, Flash. What a letdown of a movie. What a letdown.
Yeah, I hope, the end of other chapters that we get, like for the future of the MCU, whatever this chapter version of the MCU ends, like it's a proper send off, not just like
not what the Flash does.
Done. Yeah, we're done. We just exit stage left and it's over and be like, did you guys love the movie? And we're like, did you love the movie? If I have to ask you if you love the movie, that's probably not a good thing.
Watch, Secret Wars is going to have a weird chronoball, and you're going to have like Earths crashing into each other, and they're going to be like, well, look at all the incursions. And then you're going to see the actor that was Thunderbolt Ross, portraying Red Hulk. You're going to see Damian Priest as Namor. You're going to see, all these things that didn't happen in actors.
First action Fantastic Four.
Yeah, you're going to see Tom Hiddleston as Thor, and, it's just going to be all kinds of weird and horrible. And then,
Tom Hiddleston as Thor is intriguing, though.
Yeah, he auditioned for it. So that's what I mean. That's the kind of cameo that the Flash would put in this movie.
Dude, that's what we need to start doing a little bit more. It's kind of like, if we can find out a way to see who's auditioning for these upcoming roles, like truly see if it's, I don't know if it's leaked somewhere, but probably know who the future is going to be for other characters that are similar. But yeah, DC do-over. I wish we could have gotten a better Flash. I still haven't forgiven Tom Cruise for this, although he did a really cool thing at the Olympics, which was like one of the most epic things I've ever seen in my life. Did you guys ever see that?
Yeah, I did. Jumping off the stage.
Spider-Brando.
Oh, yes, I have. I lied.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
I'm disappointed in Tom Cruise and every other actor and all the influencers who then took back their word that said this was the greatest comic book movie of all time. We remember
Even
who
James
you are.
Gunn. I'm a little disappointed in James Gunn hype up the movie.
Yeah, we remember.
Yeah,
he's cooking, so we'll forgive him.
He's making up for it. Spider-Man, I just gotta say, when we were talking about you being like the spider in Nick Cage's thing, I don't know why, but I just keep picturing one of those doors opening and like Morlun walks in the room and he's hunting you because you're a spider. You're a totem.
Dude, if that were
Spider-Verse right here,
if that were to happen, I would legit crap my pants. If Morlun just walked through the door and killed our friend, one, I'd be very sad that my friend just died. Two, I'd be crapping my pants that Morlun is like, that's the one villain that I'm like, God, no, please.
Dude, if that's what it takes to make us go viral, I'll take it.
It's like, whoa, go listen to that Point 3 podcast. The guy died.
I can't record again. That's the end of the podcast.
It's the final episode.
It's the final episode. Be a better ending than the Flash and the DCU, but still higher stakes, guys. Much higher stakes. Damn. Well, Point 2 podcast.
We are your favorite duo of hosts. We'll have a little memorial for Branson up here. Just be like,
what happened? The Inheritors game.
We'll put you on a t-shirt. Don't worry. Dan Slott is gonna write you into the next Spider-Verse story. Oh, I see it now. Spider-Brando one shot.
Oh my gosh, we're definitely writing your one shot for sure now.
We have to. We have to write you a one shot.
We'll drop it at HeroesCon next year.
Yeah. We'll get
Set up
Dan
our own
Slot-
booth.
Get Dan Slot to sign it.
Like, don't you guys have your own booth? Like, shouldn't people be signing your stuff? You're like, no,
Oh my
no.
god.
Oh, Rome's, what's going on? Are you gonna read Spider-Brandos one shot?
Oh yeah, Spider-Brandos gonna have a one shot. It's written by Dan Slott. He dies by Morlun. Yeah. Oh man. That was another live stream Wednesday from Point 2 Podcast. Sonic, dude, Sonic is gonna be in it. Sonic is gonna be in it. Andrew Garfield's gonna be in it. Tobey Maguire's gonna be in it. Aubrey Plaza's gonna be in it. Everybody's gonna be in this one shot. But to find out what else it entails and if Spider-Brando actually makes it into next week,
Spoiler, he doesn't.
Spoiler, he might not. You gotta stay here. That's right. You gotta be subscribed to us here at the Point 3 Podcast. Join our Discord and our social fuckers will be there too. Just draw them all. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate.
Morlun opens, he takes them out of the box. All the Spider-Man ones.
He has Spider-Brando by the neck, and he's like, "I want you to suffer." And he takes his symbiote box and just crushes it.
How much is this worth?
Tell me where the other totems are. Oh my god. All right. If we can get through an outro, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, we will be here next Wednesday talking about some more general news. General news, deep dives, all the fun stuff. We might add another chapter to Spider-Brando's one shot. It might become a mini series.
Increase all of his signed stuff from Heroes.
Oh, I cry. That would be years of mercy.
Crush his graded comics. Oh man. Well, if you want to see more of what Morlun does, again, come back next week. But everybody, until then, we have been your favorite trio of hosts, Lou, Spider-Brando RRP, and myself, Hero Scroll. We will see you guys next week for Live Stream Wednesday. Everybody have a good night.